friends. This is Casey at the Bodie's Homestead, and in today's video, I'm bringing you an article that has to do with a new law that California has passed that is going to make it a bit more difficult for pork, poultry, and beef products to be sold both in California and anywhere else. This does not have to do with the California mega drought, but it does have to do with food shortages, which is what this is what everything's about. It's about the food shortages. California's new animal welfare law could mean the end of bacon. Thanks to a reworked menu and long hours, Jeannie Kim managed to keep her San Francisco restaurant alive during the, you know what, pandemic. That makes it all the more frustrating that she fears her breakfast-focused diner could be ruined within months by new rules that could make one of her top menu items, bacon, hard to get in California. Our number one seller is bacon, eggs, and hash browns, said Kim, who for 15 years has run Sam's American Eatery on the city's busy Market Street. It could be devastating for us. At the beginning of next year, California will begin enforcing an animal welfare proposition approved overwhelmingly by voters in 2018 that requires more space for breeding pigs, egg-laying chickens, and veal calves. National veal and egg producers are optimistic they can meet the new standards, but only 4% of hog operations now comply with the new rules. Unless the courts intervene or the state temporarily allows non-compliant meat to be sold in the state, California will lose almost all of its pork supply, which much of which comes from Iowa, and pork producers will face higher costs to regain a key market. Okay, so let me read this right here. Animal welfare organizations for years have been pushing for more humane treatment of farm animals, but the California rules could be a rare case of consumers clearly paying a price for their beliefs. Okay, so this law is making it so that the animals have a better life. They have more space, they have more room. Now, while that sounds amazing and I'm all for it, people need to eat. Okay, so I do realize that you have to have mass production to feed the masses. Okay, and while I, for so many years, was so against, slaughterhouses, and well, I still am, but the way animals were being raised, and I wanted them to have more space, and I want them to have a better life because, naturally as a homesteader, that's what I want for my animals. But at the same time, it's not it doesn't work to feed a huge amount of people when you can only use 4% of what you did have before. Okay. So that was one of the main reasons why I decided that I wanted to become a homesteader so that I could give the animals a better life, and why I buy local and why I support my local farmers, because I know that the animals live a better life. But that doesn't work for everybody. That doesn't work for the vast majority of California, okay? Or the vast majority of the United States of America. So, okay, let's keep reading. With little time left to build new facilities, sows, and process the offspring by January, it's hard to see how the pork industry can adequately supply California, which consumes roughly 15% of all pork produced in the country. So California alone consumes 15% of all pork produced in the United States. We are very concerned about the potential supply impacts and therefore cost increases, says Matt Sutton, the public policy director for the California Restaurant Association. The state has yet released formal regulations. California restaurants and groceries use about 255 million pounds of pork a month, but its farms produce only 45 million pounds, according to Rabobank, a global food and agricultural financial services company. The National Pork Producers Council has asked the U.S. Department of Agriculture for federal aid to help pay for retrofitting hog facilities around the nation to fill the gap. Hog farmers said that they haven't complied because of the cost and because California hasn't yet issued formal regulations on how the new standards will be administered and enforced. Barry Goodwin, an economist at North Carolina State University, estimated the extra cost at 15% more per animal for a farm with 1,000 breeding pigs. If half the pork supply was suddenly lost in California, bacon prices would jump 60%. Okay, you guys? That means a $6 package of bacon would become $9.60. And this is according to the study by the Hatamaya Group, a consulting firm hired by opponents of the state proposition. At one typical hog farm in Iowa, sows are kept in open air crates measuring 14 square feet where they join a herd and then for a week as part of the insemination process before moving to larger, roughly 20-acre-foot group pens with other hogs. Both are less than 24 square feet required by California law to give breeding pigs enough room to turn around and to extend their limbs. Other operations keep sows in crates nearly all of the time and would not be in compliance. Now, doesn't that sound awful? These pigs can stand up, turn around, and move their limbs around. That's their life. Now, of course, that sounds terrible, and you want the pigs to have more room, but when you're trying to feed 350 million people, you know what I mean? So I'm very back and forth on this. I'm not saying I'm against it, and I'm not saying I support it. It's obviously very difficult for anyone to try to make a decision on. The California Department of Food and Agriculture said that although the detailed regulations aren't finished, the key rules about space have been known for years. It is important to note that the law itself cannot be changed by regulations, and the law has been in place since the Farm Animal Confinement Proposition, Prop 12, passed by a wide margin in 2018, the agency said in response to questions from the AP. Here's a picture of what the pens look like for the pigs. See, that this makes me sad because I'm used to pigs that, if I buy my bacon locally or I buy my pig products locally, the pigs are running around in dirt and eating grass and playing on a farm, okay? But that's not realistic when you're trying to feed 350 million people, okay? So, like I said, very back and forth. It's very difficult. However, these new regulations, if they go through and all this happens, I'm telling you right now, pork prices are going to skyrocket because a lot of these farmers in California are not going to be able to meet these requirements in time. It's going to take them a year or two to be able to do what they need to do to get this going. So think about stockpiling some pork products if you're a big pork person. Our family are not huge pork people. We do like some ground sausage. We do like pork chops, bacon, things like that. And I do have them put back, and I do have a local source that I can go to continue to buy. So we are very lucky. Excuse me. So, but be thinking about putting some of that stuff back. Pork products can beautifully, and they'll last on your shelf easily 2 to 5 years. I would suggest rotating them out every 2 years. I always make that suggestion when I'm talking about meat. Even though they do last longer, it's always good to rotate it within 2 years just to make sure you're keeping that food moving and you don't have any waste. The courts have upheld the animal welfare law. The pork industry has filed lawsuits, but so far courts have supported the California law. The National Pork Producers Council and a coalition of California restaurants and business groups have asked Governor Gavin Newsom to delay the new requirements. So yeah, see, they're asking for delay because they don't have what they need in order to meet the requirements, and we're just going to lose out on a ton of pork. The council also is holding out hope that meat already in the supply chain could be sold, potentially delaying shortages. Josh Balk, who leads the farm animal protection efforts at the Humane Society of the United States, said the pork industry should accept the overwhelmingly view of Californians who want animals treated more humanely. Why are pork producers constantly trying to overturn laws regulating to cruelty in animals? Balk asked. It says something about the pork industry when it seems its business operandi is to lose at the ballot when they try to defend the practices, and then when animal cruelty laws are passed to try to overturn them. In Iowa, which raises about 1/3 of the nation's hogs, farmer Dwight Mogler estimates the changes would cost him $3 million and allow room for 250 pigs in a space that now holds 300. Okay, so even if this farmer made the switch, it's a 50 pig loss. To afford the expense, Mogler said he'd need to earn an extra $20 per pig, and so far, processors are offering far less. The question to us is, if we do these changes, what is the next change going to be in the rules 2 years, 3 years, 5 years ahead, Mogler asked. The California rules also create a challenge for slaughterhouses, which now may send different cuts of a single hog to locations around the nation and to other countries. Processors will need to design new systems to track California-compliant hogs and separate those premium cuts from standard pork that can serve the rest of the country. At least initially, analysts predict that even as California pork prices soar, customers elsewhere in the country will see little difference. Eventually, California's new rules could become a national standard because processors can't afford to ignore the market in such a large state. Kim, the San Francisco restaurant owner, said she survived the pandemic by paring back her menu, driving hundreds of miles herself through the Bay Area to deliver food and reducing staff. Kim, who is Korean American, said she's especially worried for small restaurants whose customers can't afford big prices and that specialize in Asian and Hispanic dishes that typically include pork. You know, I work and live with a lot of Asian and Hispanic populations in the city, and their diet consists of pork. Pork is huge, Kim said. It's almost like bread and butter. Okay, guys, so that's the article. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Are you going to be putting back pork products? Do you think this is something of concern? Do you think it will affect other states, or is it just going to be here in California? I definitely want to know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.